brought to you the public service presentation of WPRG TV5 of Harold, Kentucky. Today as my special guest, I have a man whom you've seen on this show before, and his name is Mr. Jerry Boyd. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jerry is the owner and operator of Boyd Coal Company, who you might remember was the sponsor of our poetry contest back in the winter. And also, he is the owner and operator of East Kentucky Publishing. As you can see by our t-shirts, we're showing off East Kentucky Publishing today. Jerry, can you tell us a little bit about East Kentucky Publishing?
Be delighted to. East Kentucky Publishing Company is new, as of course everybody will know. It's new and started in October of '93. What the publishing company hopes to do is to put out works from people here in Eastern Kentucky, and anyone that has works, either artwork or poetry, short stories, essays, books, novels, whatever the situation may be. This is to hopefully further the talent that we have here in Eastern Kentucky.
Now, is this going to be like a full-service publishing company, or will you have to send the works off to be printed, or how is that?
Right now, the works will have to be sent off to be printed right now. Everything else so far can be done here, and eventually I want to be able to do the printing here, hopefully at a competitive cost with other people.
And where is East Kentucky Publishing located?
Parkland, Kentucky.
Okay. Do you have an address? Would you be interested now in people sending you material?
Sure would. I'd be delighted. Anybody that has any kind of material that they feel that they would like to see published, or that would like to talk to us about it, you can send that to 523 and a half Hurricane Road, Pikeville, Kentucky, 41501.
Okay, remember that. 523 and a half Hurricane Road, Pikeville, Kentucky, 41501. So if you have anything, I'm sure there are a lot of writers out there that are just looking for somebody to publish their work. It's nice to have somebody right here that can do that. What have you published so far? Have you got started?
Yes, we have. I've got one book out. It's Prisoner of the Fifth Moon, and it's a book that I wrote. Matter of fact, we have one here with us. It is a science fiction book, and I took a group of characters with this book and tried to show their relationships with one another, try to tie it in with a story, hopefully with some suspense and a combination of things, so that the reader will, no matter what your interests are, that you will enjoy reading the book.
So you're a writer as well as a publisher?
Well, I'm trying to.
How long have you been writing?
Oh, goodness. I did some writing when I was in high school, and then I more or less just gave up the idea of writing. And the thing that I guess brought it back to doing some writing was I'm teaching Bible study class, teenagers once. And I talked to them about their talents and not wasting their talents. And I realized that I was guilty as, probably the most guilty of all, that I had wasted my talent. If I had any talent in writing, but I had wasted it. And I went ahead and started writing again just a couple of years ago. And this is what happens. This is what I guess shows that if you put an effort into something, that it does work and it will work. To me, this is an accomplishment, just to see this in print. This is a dream come true for me, and I've been blessed, and I thank the Lord for that I've been blessed several ways by the fact that I could do this, and the fact that I had some talent that I could do.
Well, you set the proper example for your students to follow, too. Since you told them they should use their talents and you've used yours, then they ought to be able to follow that, and maybe someday you'll be publishing something one of them has written.
I hope so. I hope so.
Tell us a little bit about this book. Is this the end of the story, or do you have more to come?
No. This book, I take these characters, and I have planned for this book to have, this is the first book in a series of 10 planned for these characters. The second book is already done, and I'm working on the third one now. The second book is not out yet. I'm going to wait until probably this fall or near winter before the second book is out. It's a follow-up. It takes the same group of characters, puts them in a different story, and it's an adventure story, mysteries. I like to have an element of surprise, and it doesn't always end the way storybook does. Storybook's not the way life is. Life throws some curves every day. So that's the way I want my writing to do. I want it to be something that you will think about. When you read it, you think a little bit about what is said, about the characters, the characters themselves, and perhaps what the storyline they're into.
Now, you were telling me before, how many in the series will there
10.
be?
This is the first one in a series of 10. Is what I want to do with this one. And I don't. I have some plans for this book, but it'll be. I'll develop it as I go along. Whatever.
How long did it take you to come out with Prisoner of the Fifth Moon? How long from the time you first started writing it to the time you got it published? How long was that?
Almost 2 years. Almost 2 years from the time that I actually sat down and started writing, or from the idea really, and then sat down and done the writing, and then realized that I needed some way here in Eastern Kentucky to publish the book. The fact that, I like to stop right here though and make a statement though. It's one of the statements I've been wanting to make for a while. I appreciate the help that you gave me in this book here, that you were one of the big factors in this book. You were the first person that read this manuscript, and it was a mess, believe me, when she got over it. And I gave you, you were in there in the credits part. Now there's some mistakes, there'll be some mistakes in the book. Now I want to make this clear up front. The mistakes are all mine. They're not hers or any of the other people mentioned. Any mistakes that are made are mine. So she does an excellent job. I'd like to thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. I was really thrilled when I got the book and I opened it and I saw my name in there. I didn't expect it because I didn't think I'd done anything worth having my name put in your book. But I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. You were a big part of it, the encouragement that I got, and the fact that, I don't know, I probably would have continued even if I had been, got some bad criticism on it. But when you get encouraged in something, you want to continue to go on with it. What
Yeah, we do. I know that with my poetry. Now, I have read the book, of course, and I think it's great. I mean, I'm not into science fiction myself, so it's not the kind of thing that actually interests me. But it is an interesting book anyway, even though I'm not into it. And your creativity just amazed me, really. I was surprised because I didn't know that you were a writer. And when you brought it to me and I read it, I couldn't believe how good it was and how intricate it is.
That's what I want to show. That's when I can come across with an idea and you see the idea, then I know I've done what I set out to do with my writing. I know that I have accomplished something. When I get you to thinking, or you say, yeah, I know how that done that, or I know that character. Or when you sit down and finish reading the book, you say, I know those people. Then I think I've done my job.
See, I got that out of it. I love the way you got into the characters, because I could get into the characters then.
That's what I want to do.
It's really good. Now, by the way, where can people purchase this book?
Okay, we have several places. There's Read a Lot bookstores in Paintsville, the Bookworm in Prestonsburg, Brooks Pharmacy and Betsy Lane Pharmacy and Betsy Lane, Mayo Drug and Kentucky Basket Case in Pikeville, and Bob's Sports Shop in Elkhorn City. Those are some of the places right now that we have.
So it's all over. You shouldn't have a hard time finding it.
No,
if the people are interested in buying it. And how much is it?
$4.
$4. You can't buy a book cheaper than that. So that's really good. Now you said you started on your second one in the series.
Yes,
Do you have any idea what it's going to be called?
Yes, it's called The Dark Side of Forever.
The Dark Side of Forever. Where do you come up with these things?
That's I think once you read the story, that'll probably be fairly clear at that time. It's an idea that off of this story, and I try to carry into my story. I try to put a lot of situations that you're going to see in everyday life into it also, and try to make you feel that you're part of what's going on. But in these areas, an imagination that things can happen, or that sometimes you'd like to see things happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, what are you going to read? Are you going to read from Prisoner of the Fifth Moon or from The Dark Side?
Dark Side. I've got a little part in here.
Okay, you want to do that now?
If you want to. This is a portion of the second book, which is Dark Side of Forever. It takes, like I say, the same group of characters, and it's a different story. In my opinion, you know, I enjoy doing it. First, of course, I'm going to be prejudiced about this, but I think the second book, to me, I felt was a better, because I think with each, hopefully with each work that we do, not only in my writing, but with the publishing company, that it will be a better, and we can continue to grow and do better. Now, this, to me, is all new. And I'm learning, I'm like a first grader going into class and learning something new every day. And it's all new to me. I'm a coal miner by trade. I'm not a publisher or writer as far as being a polished one, but I'm trying, and I'm willing to put out the effort for it. Now, this is a part that comes from the second book, and it's a portion in it. And I don't really want to lead up to the point. I leave a lot of things vague in my stories for reasons. There's a lot of things vague in this one because it leads on to developing it up in the second book and the third book and so on. As you continue to go through the stories, you'll see, hopefully see where it's going to in the direction I'm heading it in. Like that. But this is a poet is involved in the second story, and in this I have him writing a poem on destiny, so I'd like to read that for you now.
Okay.
Destiny walked along by me. He stayed just long enough to see where I was going. I don't know whether he approved, because he didn't wait to see. He said, "Make your choice, my son. The road looks the same both ways, but once you've chosen one, don't worry, just go. It's already done. Maybe I can walk backward on destiny's road. Maybe I won't like what I find at the end of the lane. But if the journey's taken too long, will I have time to correct what I did wrong? Why am I worrying about it now? Maybe it's already too late. And I've wasted all this time, wondering in my mind, what if somehow? But destiny spoke again. The road you've chosen is right for you. Simply do the best you can. Don't look back and don't regret. And especially don't worry about things that haven't happened yet." So I said goodbye to destiny once more. So I asked, "Where are you going from here?" As I felt sorry for destiny, wondering what he was looking for. But he whispered as he left my mind, "I will be destiny until the end of time."
I like that.
That's, it's kind of hard to take a poet, I guess, and I try to use the poetry in the second book, blending it in with the story. Now that ties in with the story, which if it doesn't make sense to some people, it's because it ties in with the story. Hopefully it makes some sense too and ties in with the story.
It'll be hard to write the poetry and make it tie in with it.
It was hard to do, to sit down and I saw a situation coming, and I tried to take that situation and write some poetry to it. And it's hard to do. It's hard for me to write poetry anyway. So I enjoy it and I love it, but it's hard to do.
So you write poetry as well as science fiction?
Yeah, I enjoy doing any kind of writing as far as my poetry, short stories. The book is a challenge because you can sit down and do the book and write the first one's fine. Now writing the second one, I have to make sure that the characters have the same description, that the same characteristics. I can't have you going out here today and being the good guy, and then come in the second book and you'll be a bad guy. You've got to have those same characteristics, you know, that we have in daily life. We've got to be the same person day in and day out. And if I twist those around, the readers, I'm sure, are going to find those flaws if I make that mistake. It's hard to do. It's hard to focus, you know, doing it, like keeping it on in sync.
Yeah, I'd say that will be hard. You know, sometimes you'll be watching TV, and you'll watch a program that's been on for 5 or 6 years, and you'll see something that you know was not true back several years ago. They take siblings out and everything. So that'd be real hard to do. It's going to take you a lot of time and effort to get that right.
It's hard. I've enjoyed it. Now, believe me, I've enjoyed doing the writing of the book and starting the publishing company and seeing as it develops with each page as I go through. I've really enjoyed that.
Is this your first book?
This is the first one.
Yeah. But you've been writing since high school, right?
Yeah, I've done some writing since high school, but I just let it go for a long time. I kept ideas in my head all the time. But then after a period of time, you lose those ideas, and once those are gone, I have tried to think of something that I knew at the time was a good thought, or a good storyline, or a good poem, a good song, and I didn't put it down on paper.
Yeah, no.
And that's gone.
I'm going to ask you a question. You might wonder why I asked, but how old are you?
40.
40 years old. Well, I had a show with Alice Kinder recently, and she was talking about how she was 40 years old when she first really got serious with doing her writing. And I was 40 years old when I published my first book. Well, the only book I have out. But I think that's interesting. And I think the reason that is when we hit 40, well, you know, if you're going to do anything, you got to do it now. But I think you also have a maturity and a willingness to take the risk of being, you know, humiliated if people don't like it. And I think that's something that young people need to think about. You know, a lot of times I think that we think when we're younger, when we're in our 20s or 30s, we got to do this right now, you got to rush it. But you have to have a little bit of experience to be able to write. So
I think you made a good point there. I feel this was part of the way that I look at things now. Had I continued my writing when I was in school, I might not have had the experiences, or this book would probably not be the same. This would not be the same material, ideas, because of the experiences that I've had. Now, I don't want people to take the books that I write, or anything that I write, they are for entertainment and for people to think about. But I don't mean to poke fun at anybody or to badmouth anybody or anything else in my writing. That's not what I want, what my intentions are. My intentions are to help, and especially this area here in Eastern Kentucky.
Well, that I think is what's so great about your publishing company, because for a long time we haven't had anybody around here. Well, of course, Mark Song is publishing now, and that's good, and I'm glad now that we've got you. What other things do you plan to do with your publishing company?
I've got a book planned that will involve the people and places and events of Eastern Kentucky. It will be comprised of people here in Eastern Kentucky, such as yourself, that have made accomplishments in their life. I want to have different sections in the book, one of authors and writers, and another one perhaps on politicians, other people on entertainers, people that have made accomplishments and done things in this area that I think need to be recognized. And then also the historic things that we have at the Hatfields and McCoys. We have a lot of interesting people in this area and events.
That'll take a lot of research on it.
Oh yes, that's not planned in the near future. That is something that I'm looking at gathering information on, and I'm already starting to gather information on. But that's something that's going to take a while to do. And,
do you plan on doing that, all the research yourself?
A lot of it myself. I would love to do it all myself, but it's going to be I'll plan on doing it in such a way that I'm going to have some help on
Mhm.
that I need some help on that.
Well, let me ask you something I meant to ask you a few minutes ago. When you did your book, do you write by hand, or do you do it on a computer, or how do you do that?
Okay, what is funny there, I've had to learn to print over the years, and that's the way I do mine. I take a notepad, I print down my ideas, and then I have someone go back over it and type it up for me. I'm not a very good typist at all. I'm more or less just text, that's all I do. And I have them type on the computer for me, and I go from there. I correct the things. Then I hand it to somebody that, such as yourself, that is good with their correcting a lot of mistakes, and let them do that. I'm just an old country boy, and I'm not an English professor or anything like that. You can tell by listening to me, I'm not. But I'm just an old country boy.
Okay. Okay, tell me a little bit more about the publishing company now. You were starting to tell me some of the things you plan in the future.
Okay, we have planned off a little book about the people and places and events of Eastern Kentucky. And if anyone does have someone or event or something like that that they know of, that they would like to submit that information to us, I'd love to have that. I'd love to sit down and interview people and start gathering some more information on for this book. If they would, send that to that address. That's 523 and a half Hurricane Road, Pikeville, Kentucky. Another part of the publishing company is children's books. We want to do some children's books. I have 3 children and 1 on the way. Now that's one of my interests in having children's books. I tell my little girl bedtime stories now, and I'd like to sit down and do a series of children's books. Now that's going to take an artist more than it does anything else. Mm-hmm. And I would like to have someone that could do the artwork for us. And we're talking to some people now about doing it.
Oh, that's good. Do you have any manuscripts for children's books yet?
I have a couple of storylines. They're different characters already created, and I have a group of stories already formed for those.
That you have written?
Well, it's only just the outline. I haven't finished the story, but the theories there, the stories there, the characters there. It's just a matter of polishing the polishing.
Is there any particular kind of children's story that you're looking for? I mean, like something that teaches a lesson, or
yes,
just,
yes. Most definitely. We want to show something that the child will want to read, but enjoys reading. And when it seems like if you could put the combination together, if you enjoy doing something and you're learning from it too, then it's a great combination. Mm. So that's exactly what we'll be looking for.
Do you have a particular age in mind, or just all kids?
That is a tough question. I would like to do now we've got some different things planned. I'd like to do some for the 3 to 8-year-old range in that area. And then we've also got the a comic book plan to do a comic book. Now the comic book is a little bit different offshoot. It's not going to be just for children. It's going to be something that's planned. I have at least 3 sections I want to do in this comic book. One on coal miners. I want to do a comic strip on coal miners. I want to show what their daily lives are like, what the jobs like, situation around. I want to take and make it educational, that we can learn from this and see what goes on really with coal miners in this area. This is a big thing we have in this area, coal miners, or at least around my house.
Yeah, that'd be unique.
I'm looking. I've already started doing some writing on that particular part, and have a group of characters that I want some artists to draw up their interpretation of what those characters look like, and then try to intertwine the stories on a continuing basis on that. Then I also have in the comic book another section of it planned on a animal family, which will depict the father and mother and 2 children, and it'll relate to hopefully an Eastern Kentucky family. That one. Now the third one is going to be the superhero, supervillain type. The one I guess everybody pictures as a comic book. That's going to be the part that will be a superhero, supervillain. And I've got the ideas for that, and already got my notes on that one.
Gotta have something for the teenage boys
That'll,
and the younger
that'll-
boys too.
that'll, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take care of that. I'm hoping that the comic book is a little bit of something for everybody. It'll be for children, mid-range, and for the adults too.
Mm. Well, the reason I was asking, one reason about the children's stories is I've written several children's stories myself, and I was kind of interested in what you plan to do. I've never really done anything with them. They're just kind of laying around.
I'm sure they'll be good.
Yeah.
I've read your work.
I don't know.
It's good.
I don't know. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to say about the publishing company or your books or anything?
The publishing company is new and it needs some help, and I want to solicit the help of the people here in Eastern Kentucky to help me with information that about the book on Eastern Kentucky people, places, and events, and that ideas or comments that people have. I say everything that I do now is a new step for me. It's not, I'm not the 18, 19-year-old that it's fresh on your mind. When you're that age, you can pick up stuff just like that, it seems like. But when you're my age, you're 40 years old, you run coal mines, you've got a family, you do Bible study, and you do other things. And when you sit down and try to read and learn this other stuff, I could read a page maybe 10 times before I finally realized and grasped what that meant on that page. And it's not like I used to. I could have read the page one time. That's it. I knew exactly what it said. I could have went on. Now I can read 10 times, sit there and look up and say, I still didn't understand it. So it's hard for me to grasp it. And I'm learning these things as I go. And believe me, there's a lot to learn with the publishing company. You don't just go out and say, we're going to print this. This is all that's going to be done. It's all it takes. It's a hard job. It's a lot of work to it.
You know, it would be interesting to the kids in school for you to maybe go around and kind of teach them a few things about publishing. You ever thought about anything like that?
I would like to do some things like that. I would like to promote not only the publishing company, but what it can. Now, there's more to the publishing company than, and that's one of the points I think that perhaps you meant by that is that it's writing, it's artwork, but it's also a lot of technical work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a publishing company doesn't just deal with the writer. That's not exactly what it deals with. It deals with the entire circle of things. It goes the writing, the artwork for illustrations, the technical support, such as people that will correct the mistakes in the grammar and the English and the thing. They'll make those corrections in. Then it has to be set in a certain fashion. We just don't slop it out. Now this one is to me, the Prisoner of the Fifth Moon was such an experience. It was one that I enjoyed doing, but it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of time involved into it. My family will verify that.
But it makes you feel so good to have accomplished something like
Yes,
that.
yes, it does.
To see that book with your name on it, I know it feels good. I know it did to me when mine came out. It's really exciting. Well, I sure appreciate, Jerry, you coming on the show and talking to us today. Maybe we've learned a little bit and found out a little bit about what you're going to do, and also let people know about your book. I'm sure they'll be interested in reading it, because I really enjoyed it when I read it. And I'm reading it again. You know, I read it when it was just handwritten, which was kind of hard to do. But now that it's out in book form, I'm reading it again. I haven't got very far, but I want to go through it like that. When I was going through looking for errors, I didn't get the whole gist of the story as well. But anyway, you all be looking for this book, Prisoner of the Fifth Moon by Jerry Boyd. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's only $4.
Now, if I could, I'd like to make a statement now. But I appreciate your comments on mine. But now, your works, you've done some things that need to be recognized. Matter of fact, I believe we have a little something here that, if you would, take a look at this. This is Editor's Choice Award. So it's presented to Ernestine Mead for Outstanding Achievement in Poetry, presented by the National Library of Poetry, 1994. So I'd like to congratulate you on this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I had sent a poem in to them for a contest, and they sent that to me, and they said that the judges had chosen my poem as ranking in the top 3% of all the poems that they had judged, and I was real proud of that. I feel real good about that. Well,
Perhaps you'd read it?
okay, I'll do that. Since I have my book of poetry right here. In case you all forgotten, my book is Down Mare Creek Road. And the title of this poem is Love on a Higher Plane. I wrote this to my husband before we were married. And I'll read it to you now. And thank you, Jerry, for mentioning that. I really appreciate it. I am seeking a love eternal, emanating from the Spirit of God, joining heart, soul, mind, and body, man, woman, Trinity, one. God breathes His holy breath upon us, and we are one. My heart longs for you, my soul pants for you, my body aches for you. Come to me, my love, and issue forth the seed of righteousness. Burst forth and bloom perennial in a fallow land. Take my hand and lead me till we reach that higher plane, where you'll walk with me and talk with me, laugh with me and love with me, and pray with me and stay with me, till together we cross Jordan and lay down our love at its source. God is love. This poem is going to be published in their anthology. It's called Outstanding Poets of 1984. It should be out in about 6 weeks. I thank you for mentioning it.
Well, that's an accomplishment. That is going to be one of the things about the book on Eastern Kentucky. Is people such as yourself that have made those kind of accomplishments. I think it's truly should be recognized for the work that's done. Now that poem showed depth, and I look at each piece of work that there is the talent there. You know, we may not everybody's going to agree with my book or with poetry, but I will agree with the one fact that it took talent, and it took an effort to do that, and you'll agree with that it took an effort for you to put that out.
Oh, yeah.
And it showed feeling and emotion in that, and you portrayed that across. I could understand it, I could see that, and that's what I enjoy about books, poetry, or any kind of art form, acting, writing, whatever it may be. It's so good that we have people in this area that can accomplish things like that. Not very many people do that in a lifetime. That's something to be proud of.
Well, see, that's what I saw in your book was talent and creativity. I can't say enough about it, really, because I think it is so good. And I think that everybody out there, you'll really enjoy this book if you get it. So I want to plug that one more time. Prisoner of the Fifth Moon by Jerry Boyd. And as he said before, you can find it almost anywhere. And if you have trouble finding it, you can always write to Jerry at 523.5 Hurricane Road, Pikeville, Kentucky, 41501. And that's also where to send any materials that you might have that you might want to have published. And Jerry, I want to thank you again for being on the show, and I really enjoyed it. And maybe sometime later you can come back and read from one of your other books.
I hope so. I love that.
And I want to thank Dr. Don for allowing us to have our show today. And until next time, may God bless you.